Hello, welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina. On Sundays, I do a thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. It is the last Sunday of the month, so we are reading a book having to do with religion, making this week's book The Secret Apparatus, The Muslim Brotherhood's Industry of Death by Cynthia Farahat. The accompanying cocktail is, put the measurements in here, but not the title. The accompanying cocktail is a Jihad. It is 2.5 ounces of vodka, 2 ounces of orange juice, and 3 ounces of 7-Up or Sprite. I have 7-Up today. So let's do this. This is built in the cups. This is fairly straightforward. The Muslim Brotherhood is the largest terrorist network currently in operation, and Farahat does a remarkable job tracing the Brotherhood members to the creation of, well, everything Islamic terrorist related. I mean, Hamas did not just spring up. Hezbollah did not just spring up out of nowhere. Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Taliban, these are all common names in the news cycle here in the West, but all of them have ties going back to the Brotherhood. And while within Islamic countries, the Muslim Brotherhood is known to be a terrorist organization, in the West, only America and Germany have designated certain branches of the organization as terrorist. Nobody else has. In the West, they're like, yeah, let's just see. Let's just wait and see. Like, Europe just watches them, but they haven't actually taken steps to say, yep, those guys are terrorists. We should have nothing to do with them. And in Germany and America, only certain branches have been designated as being terrorists. I think in America, I'll screen grab it and throw it up here. It's like the Egypt, Jordanian, and Lebanese branches are considered terrorists. Everybody else, cool. Yeah, you can be Islam's Brotherhood, no problem. Fucking idiots. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Bahrain, Russia, Kenya, Argentina, excuse me. So there's at least one Western country with her head out of her ass. It's yet another reason to love Javier Milei. All these countries have actually declared the entire organization of the Muslim Brotherhood to be terrorists. America was very late to the party. We didn't decide until 2026 that the Jordanian, Egyptian, and Lebanese branches were terrorists. So we're very, very not on the ball here with that one. So worried about being politically incorrect, not hurting anybody's feelings, less worried about the safety of the world. Farahat argues the entire organization and all branch affiliates are terrorists. It is a rotten, infested tree down to its very roots and should be ripped out and destroyed for the good of the rest of the forest. Forest being, the rest of Islam and, the rest of the world, really. I literally just came up with that metaphor. I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a pretty good metaphor overall, I think. It's a screwdriver with a twist, basically. I was actually surprised that as of the writing of this book in 2022, the United States had not designated the Brotherhood as terrorists. I mean, I read a book 30 years ago, Versions of Paradise by Barbara Wood. I'll throw the cover up here so you know what it looks like. It was originally published in 1993, reprinted in 2012, where one of the characters gets pulled into the Muslim Brotherhood, which was a terrorist network in the book. So when, the Brotherhood started appearing in the news, I just sort of assumed we all knew they were terrorists. And I forget how widely read I am and the different pieces of information that I'm exposed through all of my reading. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. Too sweet. And I'll drink it, but it's not my favorite. Who is the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, the organization was originally founded on March 22nd, 1928 by Hassan al-Banna. And he was an Islamic scholar way back then. And it has both a front-facing organization, which in recent years has been trying to overhaul the image of the Brotherhood using classic Orwellian doublespeak. And we'll circle back to that in a bit. And then there is the secret, not public-facing part. And this is the part that funds the networks and creates ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, Taliban, right? All of the ones that are known throughout the world, right? And it is a broad, deep network with global reach. And throughout the Secret Apparatus, Farahat traces this network, both the public and the secret side, showing how they intertwine and work together. And it was genuinely eye-opening in a, oh great, I really needed that nightmare to live rent-free in my head kind of awakening. Because prior to reading this book, I genuinely thought the Muslim Brotherhood was more or less confined to Egypt. Probably because of that book I read back in 1993. And I'd never really heard of them outside of the context of a news thing and thinking, okay, well, they're in Egypt. Like, they were all over the Arab Spring, right? And after the Arab Spring, they have been designated a terrorist organization in Egypt. So I just had no idea the depth and breadth of its reach. No, not a fan. But I also don't like screwdrivers, so that might have something to do with it. Now, I'm not going to go through and try and trace all the players on this review because over 100 years, there are a lot of players on this field. And I would need a conspiracy board, you know, Charlie type conspiracy board just to keep track of who was where at what time. Instead, I kind of want to focus on what some of the goals are that she laid out, some of that famous doublespeak, which Farahat translates for us. Some of the differences. I mean, a lot of people assume that Sunni and Shia branches of Islam are so divided that, like, the enemy of the enemy is my friend, so that now that we're warring with Shia Iran, we can befriend Sunni ISIS, for example. And that would not be recommended. That's very much not true. Farahat goes back actually several hundred years before the founding of the Brotherhood to provide examples of when Shia and Sunni got along just fine. And the reasons for their getting along just fine, which usually had to do with, you know, those of us who are infidels. Or the difference between Sufi and Salafi. They're frequently confused, which is sad to me because Sufism is Islamic mysticism. They're the whirling dervishes, right? And Sufi tends to be shunned by the fundamentalists of both Shia and Sunni branches of Islam. Salafism, I'm probably mispronouncing that, is the fundamentalist branch of Sunni Islam. And Al-Banna, what did I say his name was? Hassan al-Banna was a Salafi. He was a fundamentalist. Oh, what are the differences between Shia and Sunni? Well, I mean, the Prophet Muhammad died in 632 Common Era, and at that point the religion split into those who follow the Sunni, which believes the community should pick who the next leader is, and those who follow Shia, and they believe that the leadership is an inherited trait, so it should only go, like, the leadership of Islam should only pass to a direct descendant from Muhammad. They're all very, very inbred. The Shia family tree looks kind of like a family pole at this point. I mean, I killed, I just know it. Sunni is by far the largest of the two branches. It encompasses most of it. Shia is more or less concentrated in Iran, Iraq, and Azerbaijan. That last bit's from Wikipedia. I had to kind of Google it to get an idea of. I mean, I kind of knew Sunni was the larger branch, but that helps you know where the concentrations are. And there are smaller cities in other countries that are primarily Shia, but Sunni has the larger market share, if you will. The Shia fell back, like a lot, in Iraq following the ousting of Saddam Hussein in 2003, which is how Sunni-run ISIS came to destroy the Yazidi populations, as told in The Last Girl earlier this month. How does all this tie in with the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, Farahat pulls out like 9 sections that are designed to propagandize, infiltrate, bribe, and recruit operatives from society at large. So they have the section that is designed to propagate the message, that being the ideology of Islam. Students are the largest body that Islam shoots to recruit from, which, well, I mean, if you want to have an idea of just how good they are at recruiting from the larger student body, if you will, look at all the leftist organizations on college campuses in America, where all the useful little idiots who have been told what to think, not how to think, blindly parrot from the river to the sea. Every time Hamas shoots Israel, and Israel dares to fight back. Yeah, it's pretty dark. Farahat dissects how Islam embraced the very worst of both communism and fascism in the 1930s and 40s. She even shows how Egypt allowed literal Nazis to hide in Cairo post-World War II, while also embracing Stalinism as a means to control the populace at large. And they're very effective at it. They're very effective at putting communist, Stalinist ideas into play. They're good at it. So the Brotherhood recruits from students, labor and peasants, professionals, and unions. Anybody they can get, anybody they think they can get, they're going to talk to them. And it starts very slowly. Oh, no, Islam is the religion of peace. You know, Islam means peace. That's all it means. It's not that it's not violent. We're not violent. Not those other guys are the bad Muslims, not us. We're the good Muslims, the moderate Muslims, even though, as we all know, actions speak louder than words. And their actions are anything but peaceful. But we in the West are so terrified of being called racist that we just nod along and say, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. They have an entire section dedicated to physical training. They want to make sure that their fighters are all fit and ready to blow themselves up for Allah. And another one that deals just with press and translation, getting that wording just right, that doublespeak just so that the Westerners don't freak the fuck out and chase them all back to Egypt, right? And they have the Muslim Sisterhood, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the same thing for women in Islam, right? And family. More than likely, if you know someone who publicly acknowledges an association with the Muslim Brotherhood, then their family is also in the Brotherhood. It's very much a you are who you hang with sort of situation here. And they intermarry. So, if you're Brotherhood and the Sisterhood, intermarry. And that's not like brothers and sisters. I mean, they're not that internecine, at least as far as I know. But still, the two organizations intermarry to keep it very internal. And a good chunk of why so much of what they do is unknown is, believe it or not, compared to the Cosa Nostra. So, and she actually spells it out in here, Cosa Nostra, right? They took a page from Italian crime families and play everything very, very close to the vest. They're very slow to trust. You have to be in the organization for several years before you can even move up a little bit in the organization. And yes, the Muslim Brotherhood gets along just fine with the Ayatollahs despite the Shia-Sunni rift, which is why the Ayatollahs in Iran have for the last, 48 years or whatever, been seen to be the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism. How about that doublespeak? Let's circle back to that real quick. I mean, truth. That's a simple enough word, right? The dictionary defines truth as conformity to fact or reality. It's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's the truth. What actually happened? What is reality? The Brotherhood has truth, meaning the implementation of Sharia law, because only Allah knows the truth. Freedom. Freedom does not mean freedom like we in America know, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to assemble. Free to be you and me. That is not what freedom means in Islam. Freedom means being free from all forms of transgression against Sharia law. They're very open in their moves, in what they want. They want the implementation of Sharia law the entire world over. The Farahat provides an entire list of vocabulary words, which on their face have absolutely nothing in common with how the Brotherhood means the word. Like if you look up the dictionary meaning, and the Brotherhood twists it to conform with Sharia law. But all those same useful college campus idiots will spout the party line like it's been handed down by Allah himself. Not just the campus idiots. She pulls out known meetings between U.S. policymakers who have met with known members of the Muslim Brotherhood to the absolute weeping detriment of the world as a whole. Like I said at the beginning, it's only in 2026, so within the last 3 months, that the U.S. has designated some Brotherhood branches to be terrorists. But Farahat makes a strong argument for the entire organization being rotten to the root. An argument that is frankly only enhanced by the fact that countries that actually live in that region of the world make no distinction between the different branches and have dubbed the entire organization as terrorist. So the UAE, Lebanon, I was absolutely shocked. Like, the news coming out of the Middle East is very interesting these days because Lebanon is now working with Israel against Iran. Fucking fascinating. And what does that tell you about the sort of reach the Brotherhood has? That they do, in fact, get along just fine with the Ayatollahs, or at least all the ones that are now dead. Presumably they get along fine with the remaining Ayatollahs. I don't know. Ayatollah Khomeini was named in there, but really they've gone through so many over the last couple of weeks, it's hard to keep up. This book was a little frenetic. Like I said, there are a lot of names in here, names that bounce back and forth. Like, I almost need a conspiracy board to keep track of all the players. But Farahat did a remarkable job showing what the Brotherhood has pulled from communism, Stalinism, fascism, and how they have folded those history horror shows into their current ideology to make something new and entirely evil. Rotten, rotten, rotten. And it was an interesting read. It really was. I do recommend it, but because I review a book a week, I only have a week to read through and absorb this information. I would recommend pacing yourself. Give yourself more time than I gave myself to read it. Maybe start a spreadsheet so you can get a visual guide for how just internecine the organization as a whole is. Because she'll say, this guy learned right at the feet of Hassan al-Banna, and this guy was like 3 generations removed, and this guy did this, and it's all right there, conspiracy board style, right? but it's a lot of information to unpack in a very short period of time for my reading. But that's it for this week. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.